For people who might not know you, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel originally was to focus on just homebrewing. Um, but I soon found that I wasn't brewing often enough to keep a constant flow of content coming out to actually capture people, I guess, because you kind of have to have stuff continuously coming out um, to kind of keep people interested in your channel and have your channel kind of get out there. So I decided I wanted to throw in some little beer tasting segments, and that soon took hold and is now most of my channel.
You do. I mean, your live streams, they have to be punching up those numbers pretty high. Yeah.
Yeah, the Multimonday is the most popular thing that I have going on my channel. That's where I get most people that join in. It's just a lot of fun for me. I mean, the whole YouTube thing. I've just met some great people. Actually being on the platform, I've made some call them YouTube family or friends.
Yeah.
People I never would have met before, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like the greatest part of it all. Um, is just meeting different people, and we have our live or off air hangouts and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
the virtual bar type stuff.
Well, speaking of your Multi Monday segment, do you want to give a quick rundown of what exactly Multi Monday is?
So Multi Monday, it basically started because there was a void in Mondays of people doing any any live streaming as far as the group that I'm within on Monday. The Bear Patrol, Average Joe, he had a live stream going on Monday, but he stopped that a while back. So it was just kind of a little void, and I'm like, maybe I could, maybe I could do a live stream and try to keep it just relevant to beer and not just have it be some wild live stream. Like we have some wild live streams. Some of the crew I'm with, it's just like a free for all. Everybody comes in and it's big. Everybody gets messed up and says stupid things, and then you worry the next day of, oh crap, what happened? I just wanted something that was going to be, structured, and kind of took the idea from Wildcard Wednesday because it was always like beer related. It's like you're going to talk about your beer. Everybody kind of does like their own beer tasting, stuff like that. But I wanted to go through each style through like the BJCP guidelines, basically. Just find every style that's out there and try different things. So I also thought that would be fun for me because I enjoy history and stuff like that on beer. So I love your channel, what you've done with it too, with the
Thank you.
you know, a lot of history and stuff like that. Um, so I like being able to read up the history of the beer. The BJCP guidelines doesn't give out a big, big long history on anything, but it's still interesting. Just getting everybody in with the same style, and it's not like everybody has to bring the same exact beer.
Yeah.
It's like just find the style, and there's different breweries, and they make them differently, and everybody talks about them, differently. Or if we have, it's been multiple times people have had the same exact beer, and you pick up on different notes. Like I said, different people have different palates or a different amount of knowledge on what flavors they might be picking up on. But yeah, I just like it that it kind of opens it up to bring people into the differences. They're not just like all stuck on. I'm going to have my adjunct lager tonight. That's all I'm going to drink. Well, if you want to be on panel, hey, guess what? We're doing something totally different. And there's been a few beers that people have never had before that are part of my little community, and they're like, wow, this actually isn't that bad. I got drunk in one to have his first sour, so it was like,
Yeah. So,
oh,
out of all the live stream videos for all the people that I subscribe to, I think Multi Monday is the most important one, most significant one, and it is my favorite one. And I agree with you. I think it forces people to get out of their little comfort zone bubble. Like, I love hazy IPAs as much as the next guy, but I mean, it would get kind of boring if, every Monday it was just like hazy IPA day, or something like that. Like, I
Right.
like that you go through and you talk about the beer styles, you talk about their history, you talk about the first one that I ever joined you on was the Irish Stout. And I think I had the exact same beer that two other people had, but we all had different things to say about it. It was interesting. Do you think that beer styles are important and kind of relevant in today's beer world?
Yeah, I think beer styles are um, definitely relevant. I mean, they keep track of what style, like in the magazines or whatnot, what styles are most popular and stuff. And I think that pushes a lot of breweries that are making the beer to basically say, well, we have to make a certain style if we want to get it out there to what's kind of hip and trending right now. Um, but I think all styles to me are definitely relevant. Like I said, there's so many styles out there that people have never tried before, and I think it's just because they may never heard of them. They just don't, they're not looking, they're not seeking for hey, what can I find next? Um, and I think that there's definitely styles out there that are fantastic that people may be missing out on with not trying, like a Flanders Red. Oh, that was my first perfect score ever on my channel. Was the Flanders Red, the Duchess de Bouillon.
Oh yeah, yeah, solid
Yeah,
beer. So the reason I bring that up is this year I've decided that I am going to do a bunch of research into obscure beer styles and things that are kind of more on the fringe. And one thing I look at and I see more and more often is that the idea of what a particular beer style is, those walls, those dividers, they're kind of being divided a little bit eroded. Um, I'm currently working on a black IPA video, the origin of the black IPA, and when you look and you compare the stats, the ingredients, the malts, the hops, the IBUs, ABVs, all that stuff, they look very similar to a lot of the porters, American porters and American stouts that came out at the initial part of the boom. Like, it seems like at some point in time, somebody just had to say, we're going to separate these two. We're going to split them up, and they're going to be two different things, but they might look, taste, smell exactly the same. Do you think in the future, the way things are going, the way things are progressing, that beer styles are going to continue to be in hard to find rigid boxes? Or do you think we're going to become a little bit more of a gray blob?
there is a new style out there already, and it's not so far off from the other styles of Pilsner. It's the Italian Pilsner.
Mm.
Um, the only difference I can really find from that is, I mean, they're using noble hops. I mean, they're doing all this pretty much the exact same thing as making a regular German Pilsner. But it just, like, to me, it just seemed like it was the one I've had just seemed like it would match up with pizza so much better. It had almost like an oregano type aroma to me. It was weird, but they didn't put oregano in it. It was just, I don't know, the zestiness from the noble hops that they used or how they did it. They did dry hop it. I know that. Um, but yeah, it was like oregano and lemon. Yeah, it was a great beer.
So you think,
But it's like still it's a pilsner. It's like almost exactly the same thing. It's got the bitterness. It's got the crackery malt flavors and the dry, crisp, and clear. And yeah, it's just a damn German pilsner. They just did something different with the hopping. I don't know, but
well, like, would you consider your New England IPAs, would you consider them a different style than your milkshake IPAs?
Yes, they are. Milkshake IPAs typically use lactose for one to add the milk, um, and also vanilla bean, and they're usually fruited as well. Where the New England IPAs basically they concentrate off of the grist that's used. You're going to have a lot more oats and wheat, flaked wheat and stuff. Usually some type of low flocculating. Let's say I'm going to say like a British style yeast. Like when I make mine, I use London Ale 3 from my yeast. Uh, Low flocculating gives off some nice fruity esters at the higher temperature rate. You're fermented around the 68 to 70 degree range. And yeah, just the way that I mean, they're both the milkshake and the New England style IPA. They're pretty much hopped the same. Most of the hops are going to go in like a whirlpool, and then they're going to be dry hopped, sometimes double dry hopped. Um, and I know like the first edition of dry hopping, not everybody does it the same, but if you add it in during the high krausen uh, fermentation, your first dry hopping, there's some type of weird uh, reaction that happens. I don't know what it's called with the yeast and the hops, um, whatever.
Biotransformation.
Yeah, biotransformation, which kind of it changes what the hops would normally put out as far as an aroma.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to like press you or anything, but like when it comes to beer styles, isn't it kind of, I don't know the right word, but isn't it a little bit taking a bit too far? Would you decide, okay, I have a New England IPA, right? And then I just put vanilla and lactose in it, and all of a sudden it's a completely different style.
No, I don't think that's taking it. I think that's good actually. Like I said, being from New England, and where the New England IPAs started in this area, and how they're made and how we all became to love them, to have BJCP actually destroy the style and just basically have it be this bland whatever, and then you got California making hazies, and then they just taste like it's just like it's not murky. Like I love the murky, the stuff that comes from like Trillium and Treehouse, when it's like so opaque. Yeah, it looks like you just poured a
Sludge.
glass of orange juice or something. It's like there's no way you're gonna see through it. Or a potato. I like the baked potato look.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Same.
but then yeah, you get some decent brewery out in California, and they make what they call a hazy IPA, which is still supposed to be a New England IPA style. And then yeah, it's hazy. It's almost like I don't know, it's just like you can kind of see shadowy objects through it. You just got this kind of like I don't know hop resin stuff just kind of floating around and makes it a little bit hazy. And they tend to be like West Coast IPAs with a haze to them. It's like they don't have the big juicy, tropical notes. They got usually orange and stuff in there, but for the most part they're just hazy West Coast IPAs. They're very bitter and stuff. It seems a lot of times, but that's all. It all falls into the same style. That's why I don't mind. Like, yeah, if you're gonna add something different, or if you're gonna do something different, call it something else. If this style was built this way, then if you're going to add fruits to it, like actual fruit and stuff, call it something else. I mean, it goes under specialty beer, I think, at that point, anyways. But
No, I actually 100% agree with you. I do think there is a difference between your hazy IPAs, your New England IPAs, your unfiltered IPAs, and your milkshakes. I do agree with you. I was just wanting to kind of gauge your opinion on it. So with like Brewers Association and BJCP, like defining what a beer style is, like I don't know how to like who gave them the authority to do that. Like it's like you were talking about the hazy IPA, New England IPA, like the butchering.
Right. There was a lot of people that I think that were upset about that when that came out. Because
Absolutely.
everybody was waiting for that. Because it had been out for years.
Hmm.
And the New England IPA has been out for what, like 12 years or something now?
Yeah.
It's been out for quite a long time. And they just recently came up with it. And I think in what, 2017, 2018, I think they came out with the guidelines for it. And everybody was waiting. And then, yeah, I don't know. Like I was really pissed when I read what the guidelines were. I'm like, this is just so, it's like, okay, you can have water, you have vodka. We're going to call it all vodka.
I understand the importance of beer styles because if I went to the store and I wanted to order a Hefeweizen, but they gave me a stout instead, I'd be pretty upset, like if they marketed it as a Hefeweizen and it was like jet black and everything. But with that being said, I think sometimes we are either a bit too rigid or we let a lot of different things slip through the cracks. Like here in Germany, I went to a brewery up north and they had a Pilsner on tap. All right, sorry. They classified it as a Pils, just Pils. So I was like, oh, I'll have the Pilsner. And they're like, we don't have any Pilsners here. And I was like, that? And they're like, that's a Pils, completely different. And I was like, oh.
Really?
And I was like, okay, well, what's the difference? And they wouldn't explain the whole thing to me. It was like a difference in the water and a difference in the malts and the hops that they use, even though it's mostly the same type of malt and it's mostly the same type of grain. The North Germans don't consider their Pilsners. So it's like, do we as a beer community, do we lump that in and call it German Pilsner, or is it the BJCP's, is the Brewers Association's responsibility to say, well, maybe we should take a little bit of a deeper dive in here and see, yes, there is a difference between Pils and Pilsner, or no, or yes, there is a difference between Hazy IPA and New England Merc,
I think that would be fitting. I mean, you have the Czechs Pilsner, which is different from like another German Pilsner. So there is a difference there. So I'd say if they're noticing a difference because of maybe their water's from Burton-on-Trent, and it's different and it's it's harder and it's going to give you different flavors and reactions with the hop and how bitter they come off and everything. Then, yeah, I mean, I think that would it's more stuff out there definitely that the consumer has to pay attention to. But let me just put this into a perspective here. A lot of I threw away any of the cans I had. The double IPAs that we're getting here in New Hampshire, New England area. They just say double IPA on them. Pop the top, pour it in. It's a New England. It's a New England IPA. It's fruit bomb. It's murky. They don't put that as a New England IPA. So it's like you kind of, when you're just like, oh, it's a double IPA, you're kind of thinking it's gonna be clear and everything like that, and then you pour it and you're like, oh, this is like, it's a New England double IPA, but they didn't put that on the can. I've actually been kind of, when I was doing my 50-point inspection, which I don't do anymore, that was one of the things I would ding them on, like because that was one of the questions was, how does the beer look, the color? And if it doesn't state that it's supposed to be murky hazy, I'm gonna ding them points on that. So I was dinging breweries that put out a great beer, but they didn't put on their can that it was a New England style IPA. I was expecting something clear.
Is there a disconnect between breweries and style guidelines nowadays? Because I 100% agree. I've been looking into what European IPAs look like because they're just so different and so unique and so weird from an American perspective. And I could pick up 6 different things that say IPA off the shelf, and I'm blasted with West Coast milkshakes, New England IPAs, like everything. It's hard as a consumer to know exactly what I'm getting when they're so vague. Should should breweries, if they want to be a part of like a brewers association, if they want to be part of some type of coalition, should they be forced to market their products in accordance with what that governing body dictates a style is?
I can't say that they should be forced into it, but I just think they're making beer to sell to the consumer, so they should really keep the consumer in mind. The consumer wants to purchase a product that they know about. I mean, if you're going to buy a bookshelf and you think you're buying a bookshelf and it's just a little dinky cabinet, well, that's not going to work for you. If it's not, put out there exactly what it is, no picture, no, no real information on it. So it's like, yeah, I mean, you need to, as a consumer, I think you'd want to know what you're purchasing. So I think that's up to the brewery to put out what the product is. I'd say, if you do that enough, you irritate people enough, they might not go back to your establishment and purchase your product. They'll go after somebody else that is putting out what they need to know.
What is your personal definition, and what are the restraints for what makes a beer style a beer style? Because kind of like you were saying with the Italian Pilsner, like if I went to a random country, Belarus, let's say I went to Belarus and I brewed a perfect clone of Polliner's Hefeweizen, right? Let's just say that. But I use Belarusian water, Belarusian hops, and everything like that. Does that make it a Belarusian Hefeweizen? That's kind of like, you can either like break this down and divide it in infinitum or just kind of lump them together. Where do you land on like what makes a beer style a beer style?
I think, well, I mean, if you look back like on the histories, of certain beers, I mean, they were brewed one certain way. You got the Kolsch that's coming up this Multimonday. The Kolsch, it can only be called a Kolsch if it's brewed in Cologne, Germany. Anything outside of the outskirts of Cologne, Germany, you can no longer call it legally a Kolsch, at least in Germany. I mean, we don't care here in America, but but a lot of times, I mean, anything that's not brewed right in Cologne, Germany, has to have the word style after it. So it's no longer a Kolsch; it's now a Kolsch style, like a replica type ordeal. But yeah, I think it's just like kind of the history of what the beers, originally were, how they were built and stuff. And I think that kind of with the New England IPAs, like I said, like we were used to here in this little niche area of New England, and then once it kind of grew across and everybody started changing it, and then it's not exactly the same that you get. Some other breweries do make some fantastic New England IPAs outside of New England. I'm not saying that, but there's quite a few that it's been very like that's not what we all love, So,
don't you say anything negative about don't you say anything negative about the Veil. They're my babies.
I've heard that they make some nice New England IPAs.
I don't know. Let me tell you what started this whole style fascination for me. I went to Leipzig, Germany, which is like one of the predominant Goza producing areas of Germany. And I went to this little Goza beer garden they have. And I ordered a Maibach that they had there because they had it on tap. And I was like, oh, I love Maibachs. It'll be like a good like last beer for me to have before I head out. And it was a Maibach in the sense that it was strong, malty, a little bit sweet, but it was also sour and salty. It was a Maibach Goza. And at that point, I was like, I don't know what anything means anymore, I absolutely loved it. Would drink it again, hands down, without a doubt. But it like kind of melted my brain and just really got me thinking about what all these styles are. And I definitely agree with you. I think history of this style certainly plays a major part in it. You know,
Hmm.
I just
Like if they're known to use certain hops, if it's like this style was always made with just noble hops, and then you want to take it and you want to make a German Pilsner, but you want to use all American like Cascade and whatever else you can find and throw in there. It's not going to be a German Pilsner. It's going to be a muddled mess probably, but it's
for sure. Thank you very much for joining me and talking about all these beer styles and everything. It's definitely something that I've been insanely interested in, and I just really enjoy being able to sit down and talk with somebody about some of this more niche stuff. So thank you very much for joining me, Jesse.
oh, thanks for having me on, Anthony.
Yeah, no worries. So before I let you go, anything you want to shout out that you got going on your channel, any of that?
Just Mondays, basically, 8 p.m. Eastern time is when it starts. Everybody's welcome to join the panel. I put out the little link in our Hangout group, so we have certain Google Hangout groups that people can grab that from. Uh, Anybody that's not a part of that, that's just in the chat. I do leave the link to the whole StreamYard layout in the chat room as well. I just ask that you have the beer that we're doing that night, because I'm not gonna have you talk about a beer that we're not doing. Like I
Yeah.
said, I want to have some type of structure. I also ask that people behave themselves for the most part. I mean, have some fun and stuff, but we don't need to. Nobody needs to be belligerent and or attack other panel members, which is happening.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jesse, Bumpy Road Brewery. Yeah, I'm just really glad you decided to join me. So
I'd say cheers, but I got an empty glass.
there we go. Yeah, thank you very much. Cheers, my friend.
I got some yeast. I got some yeast. There we go.
All right.
Cheers.